Hi and welcome, Dr. Dweck. I'm so thrilled that you're here to be part of this interview series and part of our virtual conference on how we can reduce self-doubt and improve self-confidence. And I'm just thrilled to have you because your work has been so important to so many people, and especially to me. It really has changed my life. And I really have to say a big thank you to you because it's really had a huge impact on me and I'm sure many thousands of people. So thank you.
You're very welcome. That's wonderful, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. So, Dr. Dweck, for those listeners who are not familiar with your concept of the fixed and the growth mindset, can you explain what those are?
Of course, when people are in a fixed mindset, they believe that their basic abilities are just these fixed traits. You have a certain amount, and that's it. When you're in that mindset, however, you worry, how much do I have? Am I smart? Am I not smart? Am I good at this? Am I not good at this? It keeps you from taking risks. It keeps you from persisting in the face of obstacles because you worry that you're not looking smart. So it undermines your challenge seeking and your resilience. But other people have a growth mindset. They believe their talents and abilities are things they can develop through their efforts, their strategies, and help and instruction from others. They don't think everyone's the same, but they believe everyone can develop. And when you take your mind off measuring your fixed intelligence, then you can focus on learning. You realize that challenging yourself is the way to learn. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. So this challenge seeking and resilience is fostered by the growth mindset. Now, just to explain, we can have different mindsets with respect to different abilities, and we can go in and out of the mindsets, but we'll talk about having a fixed or having a growth mindset because it's simpler.
Okay, wonderful. So, in your research, you've discovered that girls have more of a fixed mindset than boys. Why do you think that is?
Sometimes we find that, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we find that the two genders have similar mindsets. However, when girls do have a fixed mindset, we're more vulnerable. Here's why. First, boys historically have had higher, heartier confidence than girls. They can think, it's fixed and I have it. Aren't I wonderful? And if you can maintain that, you can be okay. But girls are more likely to think it's fixed. I wonder if I have it. I just made a mistake. Maybe I don't have it. So that's the first thing. So if you combine a fixed mindset with fragile confidence, it's a problem. You're not going to go for it and stick to it as
Right.
much. But then also, we are combating a lot of negative stereotypes in math, science, leadership, many areas. And a negative stereotype is a fixed mindset label. It says it's fixed and your group doesn't have it. So if you already have a fixed mindset, say about math, and then you encounter difficulty or setbacks, you'll think, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. But if you have a growth mindset, you say, well, maybe traditionally we haven't performed as well, people haven't encouraged us, we've been laboring under a negative stereotype. This is a learned set of skills, and I can learn them. So even when girls don't have more of a fixed mindset, the ones who do have a fixed mindset will be more vulnerable.
So we have to be careful in believing in those stereotypes then.
very careful about believing in the stereotypes, and very careful about rushing in to reassure girls how smart they are, because that is still within the fixed mindset system. So
Right.
say, okay, I believe you, but then I have a less than optimal, I get less than an A, or I'm finding this hard, I guess you were wrong. So we need to get out of that system where we're judging ourselves all the time or letting other people's judgments affect us. Great.
Right. Right.
By the way, studies show that females accept other people's opinions of their abilities much more than males do. So we have to watch out for other people judging us.
Do they really? Why do you think that is?
I think because people were so nice to us when we were growing up. They told us how adorable and wonderful we are, and so we trust people's opinions, whereas boys were always getting scolded and punished, and so they can't put themselves in the hands of other people.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a lot of disadvantages then. And again, I guess if we have some awareness around this, then we
Mhm.
can navigate it better and get over it easier.
By the way, boys are treated worse. We are
Oh,
victims of the better treatment we often receive when we're kids.
right. Now, in one study, you found that girls who thought that science and math ability are fixed or innate, that they tend to perform worse and have less interest in those fields than
Mhm.
those who believe that those skills can be acquired through hard work. So, can you explain how these beliefs also put women at risk?
Yes. We followed women. This is work with Catherine Good and Anitha Rattan. We followed women over their calculus course. And in a subsequent study, we followed women in a computer science course. We assessed their mindsets at the beginning of the course. Did they think um, it was just fixed, and other people regarded it as fixed trait? Or did they think these were abilities that could be developed? The women who endorsed a fixed mindset lost, tended to lose a sense of belonging over um, the course of the semester. They started feeling like, I don't really belong here, especially if they said there was a lot of stereotyping going on. They really dropped off in how much they wanted to pursue that subject in the future. And when all of this happened, their grades suffered. But when women had a growth mindset or thought that their instructors and peers had a growth mindset, so when they thought they were in a growth mindset environment, that didn't happen. They still could think, hey, there's a lot of stereotyping going on here, and they didn't like it. But it didn't affect them negatively in terms of feeling they belonged, wanting to pursue it in the future, or doing well in that course. That growth mindset helped them withstand negative stereotypes.
Wow, so it's so important to really develop a growth mindset, which I'm glad I have, thanks to you. And, it's incredible how much I've been able to achieve since I have really, really been teaching and training myself to have a growth mindset. So I think it really does make a difference. Now, in another study done by Andre Simpian, I hope I'm
Yes,
saying that correctly,
yes, that's
of the University of Illinois, and Sarah Jane Leslie of Princeton. Now,
yes,
they found that gender gaps may be larger in fields whose members believe one needs to be brilliant to succeed. So,
absolutely.
can you tell us more about that study?
Yes, this is an amazing study that was just published in Science magazine last week. Um, they recognized, they had this amazing insight that a whole field could have a mindset,
Wow.
and that this could be playing a role in females' underrepresentation in fields. So They gave out questionnaires to people in 30 different academic disciplines, and they saw whether the field sort of weighed in on the side of this fixed, inherent, you have to be a genius, you have to have this special, inherent ability that just can't be taught, or whether they weighed in more on the side of dedication, hard work, growing your abilities over time. So is it a fixed mindset field or more of a growth mindset field? And what they found was a really strong relationship, really strong relationship. The more a field endorsed a fixed mindset, that you have to have this innate ability for success, the more women were underrepresented. And it wasn't just in the math and science fields, by the way.
So what else? What other fields?
In humanities and social sciences.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So think about philosophy. Women are really underrepresented.
Really?
Economics had more of a fixed mindset as a field. Women are underrepresented. These are genius-oriented fields. And in fact, some of the humanities and social sciences were more extreme toward a fixed mindset than any of the so-called hard sciences or math.
That's really surprising.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable. So I guess, so women just don't think that they can be brilliant? Is that it?
Well, it may not be the case that women don't think they can be brilliant, but they may not be attracted to a field where they're being judged all the time as to whether they're brilliant or not. And second, many of these fields hold stereotypes because they look around, maybe they see fewer women, and they think, gee, women are less likely to be brilliant.
Okay, all right.
But the interesting thing is, they're not necessarily propagating a negative stereotype. They're just saying, hey, we're looking for geniuses. All geniuses are welcome. Then it has the effect of keeping women away.
Oh my gosh. All right. Any ideas of how we could change that?
Absolutely. We need to change the message. So 30, 40 years ago, there were very few women in molecular biology or neuroscience related fields. So we didn't call it neuroscience at the time, but and today there's a very strong representation of women. So it just shows that fields can change. And if fields put out the message, this is a learned set of skills, or it's a way of thinking, the more you do it, the more you talk to people, the more you do study and research in this area, the more you acquire those skills. And it's especially the case that in many of these fields, one big contribution, one big idea is what you're looking for.
Right.
So you don't know who could blossom into having those great ideas.
Exactly. Okay, good, good. Now, in another research study you conducted, you tested to see how students coped with confusion when learning brand new material. And I thought the design of that study was really brilliant because you were really trying to discover something new there. So can you share that study and your findings with us?
Yes, this was a study I did with Barbara Light. Excuse me. We were really thinking about bright girls. There had been evidence of vulnerability in bright girls, so we really wanted to look at that more closely. What we did was we created two versions of a learning module. One that was perfectly straightforward and one that had a very confusing part near the beginning. And then we saw how successful kids were. These were late grade school kids, how successful they were in mastering the material we gave them to learn. Now, that confusing part was completely irrelevant to what they were supposed to learn later. And what we found was the bright girls were really thrown by that confusion. And we had IQ scores. I don't want to equate that with brightness, but for the moment, I'll do that. The higher the girl's IQ, the less likely she was to master the material after experiencing confusion. So the bright girls were totally thrown off.
Wow.
And became pretty, almost incapable of learning in that moment after they were confused. When there was no confusion, they did fantastically well. But for the boys, it was the opposite. When the going got rough, the boys with the higher IQs hunkered down and really worked hard to master, and they did great.
So are you saying perhaps that these girls with the high IQ had a fixed mindset and that the confusion led them to believe that, well, if I'm confused, this must mean I don't have it.
Yes.
I don't have the ability, I don't have the talent, therefore I'm not going to put the effort in
Or I'm just kind of reeling from this. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think I can think back to when I was in grade school. I was perfect. It was really hard for me. And if I got something where I was totally confused, that would have sent me into a panic.
Yes.
So once again, girls really need a growth mindset where you say, this is hard.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out. This is interesting. Let me just dig more deeply.
Yeah. Now, okay, so if a big part of the problem is that women lose their confidence then in the face of these kinds of obstacles, how can we give them more lasting confidence?
Well, I don't think it's about giving people confidence. The whole self-esteem movement told us to tell kids how smart they are to give them confidence, and that backfired. Our research shows praising intelligence puts people into a fixed mindset. It makes them confident for a millisecond, but then if they hit something hard, it goes out the window. I believe that rather than trying to build confidence, we put people into more of a growth mindset where confidence matters less. In other words, in a fixed mindset where your fixed ability is being judged, if you don't have the confidence that you're great at this right now, you don't want to get in there. And as soon as something gets hard or goes wrong, your confidence can plummet. But in a growth mindset, you just have to have the confidence that you can improve over time, that if you work at it, you can get better. That is much easier to maintain. And also, sometimes you'll go in to learn something because you're not good at it now.
Yes.
Moreover, even if it's hard and you have setbacks, it's not necessarily going to affect your confidence because that's part of learning. There was a study of people learning computer skills. And what they found was that people and they made sure that the course they were administering stayed difficult. People learned, but they still made mistakes. And what happened was that people in a fixed mindset lost confidence more and more over time because they were still making mistakes. But people in a growth mindset gained confidence because they saw they were learning and improving.
Amazing.
Other, yeah,
That's very interesting. That, and I never thought of that before. That as you're entering into something new, you know, having less confidence is better in the sense that as long as you have the confidence that
yeah,
you can put the effort in, and that through the effort you will learn more, you will gain it over time.
through the effort, through trying strategies, through other people supporting or mentoring you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. So how can we change our mindset?
Well, first to say that in lots of research with students, we teach a growth mindset. We teach them about the brain. And in that context, we teach them that every time they do hard things and stick to them, the neurons in their brain form new, stronger connections. And over time, they can get smarter. Then we teach them in this context that times of effort, times of difficulty don't mean they're not good at something. In fact, that's when the neurons are connecting more strongly and they're getting smarter. So we just completely turn around the meaning of effort and difficulty from something that means you're not good at it to something that means you're getting smarter at it. As an individual, as an adult, one thing you can do is first listen to your fixed mindset. Get in touch with it. Don't just say, oh, okay, a growth mindset's good to have. I have it. I get it. Get in touch with your fixed mindset. There is a voice in you that says, oh, I'm not good at this. Oh, I tried it, but it didn't work. That's too hard. I'm going to make a fool of myself. And also hears you talking about other people in those ways. So just listen to it. Take a week. Just hear it. Hear all the times that you are talking in a fixed mindset way or thinking. Next, start talking back to it with a growth mindset. Of course, I'm not good at it. I never learned it or I never stuck to it. Of course, I'm going to make mistakes. I feel bad because I'm bringing my fixed mindset legacy, but I'm going to stay in there. When you see a successful role model in a fixed mindset, you think, oh, I'll never be like that person. You feel demoralized, research has shown. But in a growth mindset, so talk back to it. Wow, that person did that. I wonder what learning trajectory they followed. I'm going to talk to them, find out what their path was, and see how I can get on that path. And then finally, make a choice which voice you're going to listen to and make a commitment.
I like that. That's great. And it would seem that that also might do well if we have a little bit of self-compassion at those times as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm. That's great. Now, I've always been very curious about one thing, and according to the self-efficacy research, and I'm particularly referring to the work of Dr. Albert Bandura, it would seem that if I'm always praising for hard work, so if I'm always giving, say, my child process praise, um, would that lead her to believe that her success is really attributed to her hard work? And if I'm always attributing, if she's always making attributions to hard work rather than her own talents and abilities, how does that eventually help her to improve her self efficacy?
Albert Bandura, my esteemed colleague at
Right.
Stanford, has actually done some mindset work and shown that self efficacy is easier to grow and support in a growth mindset. But I hear you.
Hmm.
I hear you. And that's, first of all, why I say process praise is not just effort.
Okay.
It's using good strategies, which is part of intelligence.
Okay.
It's sticking to hard things. It's making progress, improving over time.
Okay.
All of those things need to be recognized. It's focusing on the task, etc., not just hard work. In some of our research, we've praised hard work, but I think people have often just seen process praises, saying, you worked so hard, you worked so hard, you worked so hard. And for older kids, that may come across as, oh, you're not smart, so you have to work so hard. And I'm proud of you that you did it anyway. But if it's more about focus and strategies and improvement and process, and it's not that you can never mention ability. It's about the growth of ability over time. You see, you increased your ability, you grew your skills, and now you can do all of those things. So it's not as though ability is a bad word. It just has to be looked at as something that you develop rather than something you just have.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that distinction. So I was always curious about
Mhm.
that. Now, I believe that having a growth mindset is really key to dealing with embracing failure, which I think is so important to success. What's your opinion on that and why?
I agree 100%. In a fixed mindset, you're always afraid of failure. And when it happens, it's a catastrophe. It's what you've always feared. A lot of people never go for it. They never try to fulfill their dreams because they're afraid they'll fail and they'll lose their dream. They'll lose the idea that I could do that. So they'd rather live out their lives thinking, oh, I could have been this or that, than really going for it. Failure looms large in that framework. And in fact, I started my career by studying failure because it was in my mind a lot.
Yeah.
Not that I had failed ever, but the specter of it lives with you when you are in a fixed mindset. Should I major in this? Should I take this course? You're always thinking, am I sure I can look smart? But in a growth mindset, it's not that you hope to fail or love to fail, but it's that you see the longer, bigger picture that you're on the road somewhere and this is an obstacle, or you need to take a detour, or you need to take a fork in the road. So it doesn't say you are a failure or all is lost. It says, whoa, that didn't work. And one thing I love about Silicon Valley here is their motto says, fail early, fail often, so
That's
you
right.
can succeed better.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. And Dr. Dweck, any final messages you'd like to leave us with regards to, how we can build a growth mindset or how we can improve our confidence, especially as women who are trying to accomplish wonderful things in the world?
Yes. First of all, focus on learning. It's really about learning. Every day, wake up. What am I going to learn? Also, remember, struggle is a good word.
Okay.
I've been teaching tech companies to talk about struggle because if you think you have to be a genius instantly or everything you say has to be smart, you're never going to say anything. So get people talking about the struggle. I go around my lab group, I go around my seminars, and I have people say what they're struggling with. Third, remember the word yet. It's my favorite word. I have a whole TED talk on the word yet. And what I mean by this is if you hear yourself saying, I'm not good at this, add yet. And do it with your friends and colleagues too. I can't do this yet. And it puts a very fixed mindset statement into a growth mindset context. It evokes that learning curve and it says, maybe you're not at the finish line, but you're somewhere on that learning curve. So use that word as much as necessary. As necessary.
Okay, I'm going
And,
to print that out and put that on my computer screen. Yet.
and finally, don't worry so much about other people's judgments. I think as women, we're kind of raised to always have our eyes out for who's going to judge us, who are we going to look foolish, and so forth. Guide yourself by whether you're taking on challenges, whether you're improving, whether you're moving toward your goal. It's not that other people's opinions are unimportant, but our opinion of where we're going, how we're going there, and whether we're making progress is the most important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. On that note, I want to thank you so much for being here again. It's just such an honor to meet you and to have you as part of this conference. And you're really very generous. And thank you again for all the work you're doing.
You're very, very welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll talk soon, I hope.
Yes.